Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Julio Escico's deal has fallen through. A Saudi club wants to come in and buy a Chelsea player. We have some player updates regarding Nicolas Jackson to Bayern Munich and Tyrique George to Roma. Not only that, but Fermin Lopez could be joining Chelsea. Now, of course, I begin my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k before the end of 2025. Kicking things off, Uriel Licht and other sources have reported that Julio Escico's transfer to Blue Co and Strasbourg has broken down. It has collapsed. The player must now return to Brighton. This is very interesting because this doesn't happen very often, especially in the Chelsea radar or in transfers in general. It does happen, but it's just quite rare. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the player isn't good enough. We know that Escico went to do his medical with an injury right now, and obviously clubs can, players can still sign with injury, clubs can still take those medicals of injuries and take it into account, and normally what they would do is they would assess the injury, whether it's short-term, long-term, what the repairable damage can be, what the pathway to recovery is going to look like for that player, and they still assess their options and go, is it worth the risk of paying X amount of money or not? And essentially, in this situation, Blue Co or Strasbourg have turned around and said, it is not worth the money that we are going to be willing to pay for this player. Let's send him back to Brighton. No deal. Whether or not they feel that this injury is something that he can never recover from, which I highly doubt, it could just be that they think that the recovery side of it is going to be too heavy on the player and the club, especially for a new player coming in, that they probably just don't want to take the risk. Now, like I said, we do see this every now and then, but not very often. The only time I can see, or I can remember this happening, was actually last summer with Samu Amora-Dion coming to Chelsea and having that sort of Atletico-Chelsea links. And again, we had the medical and he failed that medical, and then we didn't want to pay the outrageous amount of money that Atletico wanted for him at the time. Or was it Porto, one of them, and essentially he got the move. I think he moved to Porto in the end, and he had a good season, to be fair, but we don't see it very often, but it does happen. So very interesting and curious to know what the outcome's going to be going forward. Will Chelsea go back for Escico a little bit later in his career, maybe another window, maybe next summer, and kind of monitor from afar how he recovers from his injury and how he continues to perform? Obviously, he is a very young player. He had that screamer that he scored against us at the Bridge, and he fits into the Blue Co project of a young player that's very high potential, very promising, can go develop. Obviously, Strasbourg will going to have him. He was then going to be assessed as a Chelsea player next summer. Doesn't look like that deal is happening at all. It's all been collapsed, and now he's going back to Brighton. So I would hate to be a fly on the wall in the office of Escico's, him himself and his agent, and maybe Brighton as well, and also Strasbourg, of just having those awkward conversations to say, yeah, your player's injured, we don't want to fix him, so you can keep him and we are not paying the money. So very curious to know your thoughts down below regarding Escico. Do you feel like this could be potentially a silver lining within this cloud, that he's got this injury and Strasbourg noticed that it was going to take a lot longer to recover from? Or do you feel like Chelsea should have signed him anyway and just dealt with the road to recovery, considering the sort of lengthy recoveries that our players have at Chelsea so far? Santi JFM has reported that Saudi club Neom will make an offer to Chelsea for Axel Disasi. However, he is not interested and prefers a move within Europe. Several Premier League clubs want to sign him. Now, Mr. Axel Disasi, I believe that Saudi can offer you some generational wealth to go over there. They can also offer Chelsea the money we are after for you in terms of £30 million. This could work very well. Saudi to come in and save the day. Now, I know that there is still a lot of weight in terms of the player's decision, right? They still have to agree it. They have to agree personal terms. They have to agree to the contract in general to then go and make that move. If he wants to stay in Europe, fair enough. I support his decision. However, we have 5 days left of the window. So if Premier League clubs want to sign him, Bournemouth are heavily linked. A few other clubs are stepping up to put bids in as well. They were going for loan with obligation. Chelsea would rather a permanent. Your time's running out, and I feel like this could be almost like a get-out-of-jail-free card to offload Disasi before the window ends, because we could turn around and say to him, look, you've got clubs interested, but no one's put a serious bid in. We're not happy to accept that, even though you may have agreed personal terms with certain clubs. We are looking to offload you this summer. You want to go play football. The season's already started. You could go to Saudi for a season, then come back and get the move that you want and earn generational wealth for a season. You could potentially do that. The club could potentially do that. It'd be very interesting to see how these negotiations are going to work and break down. If these other Premier League clubs are going to step up and go, if the Saudi club's coming in, they are going to pay a bit of money. Maybe we should pay a bit of money as well and get the player that we want and go for what Chelsea are asking for. Whether it's the same amount of money as Saudi clubs, we know that they can obviously inflate the prices massively if needed. But, even if it's like a case of Bournemouth coach, you know what? You want 30 million, we'll give you 25 with add-ons, or we'll give you 20 with add-ons. would you take that rather than a loan with an obligation? And then it gets the ball rolling in that sense, where Disasi can go get the move that he wants, and Chelsea are happy with the money they receive for him in that transfer. But failing that, ultimately, if Saudi come in and go, we'll give you 30 million for him, not a problem. Again, I wouldn't want to be a fly on the wall in the negotiation talks when it comes to club and player, saying, look, we've got a club that's actually put forward a lot of money for you. We are happy to accept the offer. You know, what can we do to make this transition easier for you? Or he could dig his heels in and say, I ain't going Saudi, bro. I want to go Premier League clubs because they are interested. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Axel Disasi. Where do you see him ending up? Do you see him taking the Saudi move if the Premier League clubs don't put an offer in? Will he stay put and then be part of our bomb squad and just not be used? Or will Chelsea be happy to accept a loan with an obligation with another Premier League club? Because I'm very curious to know your thoughts. Damasio has reported that Tyrique George does not want to leave Chelsea on loan, and on this point, Roma are ready to make a real investment. In these hours, Roma sporting director Frederic Massara has remained in London to understand the conditions to close the deal. Fabrizio Romano reported that Roma had positive talks with Tyrique George's camp in London today. He can join Roma on a permanent deal with a heavy sell-on clause. Talks are underway. Now, this picture has become very, very clear now. I spoke about George yesterday and said, emotionally it hurts. We'd rather keep him, if we have to send him away, then send him on loan for a development season and then reevaluate things next year. But look, Tyrique George has cut ties with Chelsea in terms of it's no bad blood. It's an amicable split. He wants to go permanently. He wants to just go improve his career. And I respect that and I back that. George is a fantastic player. We all know and love him. He was having a bit of a breakout season last season where he was playing in the Conference League and got that vital goal against Fulham in the Premier League, starting to get more minutes. And to be honest, the way that the project and Enzo Maresca are moving, limited minutes this season for Tyrique George. He wants to go away. Now, Roma will be a fantastic move for him. Let's be honest. Be a fantastic move. Obviously, Chelsea have got their sights set on Garnacho, Xavi Simons, etc. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit in the video. So it's very much eyes are not on George. They're not seeing him to be coming through. They said at the start of the window they're happy to keep him. If the player's happy with limited minutes, but obviously he wants to play football. He's good enough. So, be very interested to know what sort of money Roma are going to put up for Tyrique George and what Chelsea are willing to accept for him. Considering we sold players like Broja for around 20 million, I feel like Tyrique George is a 35 million pound investment straight away. I know it'll be in euros, so 35 to 40 million euros investment. That's what I honestly think that Chelsea should be looking to get for him. He's a fantastic player with a very high ceiling, lots of potential, still developing, but showing signs of brilliance when the minutes he has been given in a Chelsea shirt. That's just my opinion, though. So I feel like this will be done, signed, sealed, and delivered within probably the next 48 hours. Again, we've got 5 days left of the window, so all these deals are going to have to get wrapped up relatively soon to make sure they're signed, sealed, delivered, registered, flying, in terms of transport, getting to their new club, settling in, because the season's already underway. So it's sad to see that Tyrique George he wants the permanent move and he wants to go, but at the same time I respect it. It's a clean-cut mutual tie of club and player, which is nice to see. It's not bad blood, and I wish him all the best. I really do. So hopefully Chelsea can get a fat wad of cash for him, and then all players are happy. Tyrique George goes to play regular minutes. Chelsea get the money, which is pure profit on an academy prospect, or academy graduates, should I say. So I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. How much do you think Tyrique George is worth in today's market, and how much do you think Chelsea are going to ask Roma for him? Also, how much do you think Roma are going to initially offer for Tyrique George? Do you feel like this could be the stumbling block, or as they say, they're ready to make a real investment? Do they see this as a very good investment opportunity and pay the money that Chelsea are asking? The Guardian Sport has reported that Chelsea made further contact over the weekend regarding Garnacho, but the club's valuations are misaligned. United want £50 million, while Chelsea value him at £35 million. They go on to report that Chelsea could go up to £40 million for Garnacho, including add-ons, in an attempt to get a deal done. Now, look, this has been going on all summer. Fabrizio will not stop talking about Garnacho being 100% a Chelsea player, blah, 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 blah. We know this, right? You guys have made your, on both sides of the fence, made your opinions very, very known, whether you don't like him at the club or whether you do. Either way, like I said, I'm always going to back a player if he puts on a Chelsea shirt until he gives me a reason not to. And it's serious crunch time now. It's no jokes. We're talking about seriously going in for Garnacho in the last 5 days of the transfer window. We are making it a priority. We want to get this deal over the line. And when you really evaluate our left-hand side, I do think he has a place in there. I do think he will help. Gittins is very young. He's inexperienced in the league. I still think he's going to be an incredible player from what he's shown at Dortmund in glimpses. But it's going to take time to adjust. And Garnacho does have 3 years of Premier League experience, blah, 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 blah. We spoke about this a lot. I do feel like in the right environment, he can really grow and thrive. So that's what it is. It is what it is. The game is the game. At Chelsea are going for it. The only problem we have in terms of Chelsea's standpoint So we don't want to pay £50 million. Man United want £50 million. So this is all on Manchester United and what they're willing to accept. Do they go down to 40 million, 35 plus add-ons and 40 million in total? I think that's a meeting in the middle. Chelsea value them at 35. Originally it was £30 million, so they're already raising their valuation. And they were also, playing their leverage card. They're saying, look, no one else has come in, or people have come in, but Garnacho's turned them down. He's turned them away. He only wants to come to us. You either let him rot in the reserves, which you're not going to do because you want to get rid of him, and cut ties, because there's clearly something going on behind the scenes that's very, very toxic for both parties, whether it's the manager, the club, the staff, all of it mixed in. I don't really know, the fans, whatever it may be. Chelsea are like, well, we're the only club that he wants to come to and we want him, but we don't want to pay £50 million. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I personally don't want Chelsea to go up to £50 million because as much as we all have our thoughts on this deal, I personally feel like £50 million for Garnacho is a lot of money. And yes, I feel like he can definitely go on and be worth that and worth more than that in the future. I'm not disputing that. He's very young, a lot of talent. That's undeniable at this point. I just feel like paying £50 million up front for him right now, it's just a bit steep. It's just a bit steep. Now, I know that we sold Noni for 52. That's what Arsenal were willing to pay. Fair enough. Well, that's what we were willing to let him go for. Fair enough. If we'd have gone bought Noni Madueke for 50 million or 52 million, it would have been a bit like, seems like a bit much. It's a bit steep. Now, I know that player prices have inflated this window, but if we could get him for 35 to 40 million, I'd actually be happy with that. I think that's actually really fair. United wanted 50 million. I just think it's a bit too steep. If other clubs are willing to pay it, then obviously they're just going to sell him to other clubs for that money. But again, if Garnacho keeps batting away these offers and says he only wants Chelsea, it makes it incredibly difficult. So I feel like Garnacho is doing everything he can to force the move to Chelsea. Chelsea are also doing whatever they can to get Garnacho at the lowest, or the best value, lowest price possible. And obviously the window's slowly shutting. It's slowly shutting. We've got 5 days left, so this could go all the way to deadline, and I feel like it will either be Chelsea that breaks and pay more money, or United that breaks and accepts a lower offer. So very curious to know your thoughts down below regarding Garnacho to Chelsea. Do you feel like Chelsea are going to step up to £50 million, hold firm at £40 million, and do you feel like Manchester United are going to dig their heels in at 50, or will they eventually come down just to offload the player? Kieran Gill has reported that Chelsea are now open to Nicolas Jackson leaving on loan this week if their preference of a permanent sale is not forthcoming. The agreement must include an obligation to buy for next summer. And Ben Jacobs has reported that Chelsea are prepared to sanction a loan with obligation for Nicolas Jackson if a permanent transfer can't be agreed. £10 million loan fee is required. Bayern remain in talks. Now, we spoke about this a lot in the last few days regarding Nicolas Jackson to Bayern Munich, Nicolas Jackson to Aston Villa or Newcastle. Now, Fabrizio has said that these clubs are still knocking on the door, they're still calling up his camp. They still want that move. No one has put some money down. Chelsea have been very, very adamant that they want £80 million for Nicolas Jackson on a permanent. And I'm going to be honest, we're all going to be really honest here. We're not going to get that money for him. Even 60, 65 is a stretch, but I think it's achievable with the right club, purely based on the transfers that have happened this window and the inflated prices, that it does fit in. You look at the likes of Hugo that's left, and other strikers, Sesko, etc., Gyökeres deals. It fits in and around that. Whether you think Nicolas Jackson is either on par, better or worse than those players I just mentioned is a different story. The fact of the matter is, he is there's supply and demand, and the demand for a number 9 is high, the supply is very, very short. So that's where Nicolas Jackson comes in. Like I've said before, I don't think reintegration is an option now. He is definitely going to be leaving, and now Chelsea are willing to, they mentioned a few days ago that they are willing to do a loan with a £10 million loan fee. Bayern remaining in talks, I can see this deal getting over the line. Now, it looks like Jackson has agreed personal terms, which we've mentioned a few times. So I think it's just club to clubs. And I think if Chelsea are now happy to sanction a loan move with a loan fee, then Bayern will get their man. I think Bayern will get their man. They'll be happy to pay the £10 million loan fee. There'll be an obligation in there to either pay a certain amount, whether it's obligation plus add-ons or whatever it may be. They can split the payment up, and I think it makes a lot of sense for both parties. Bayern can only bring people in on loan until the end of the season. Fair enough. They are really interested in Nicolas Jackson. They were really interested in Nkunku. They obviously want that profile of player. Yes, they're they're slightly different in terms of their profiles, but they can play similar positions in turn. I feel like there is a position that Nicolas Jackson can play in Bayern Munich's team as well. Like I said, with Harry Kane getting on a bit, still doing the bits and doing the job, don't get me wrong. It's a nice rotation. Obviously, Jackson can play on the left-hand side and drift in. That's where he obviously made his name at Villarreal under Unai Emery. But if no Premier League club steps up and puts a permanent bid in, he's going Bayern, in my opinion. It's pretty much signed, sealed and delivered. It's not been officially announced, of course, but Like I said, if Chelsea are willing to do a loan fee of £10 million and do a loan with obligation, and Bayern are still in talks, as they have been, still knocking on the door, seeing if they can get creative with a deal, this would be the solution. Because again, 5 days until the transfer window ends, things have to start getting wrapped up, and I don't see a way back for Nicolas Jackson in Enzo Maresca's squad. But I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Late last night, David Ornstein reported breaking news. Chelsea are evaluating the possibility of a move for Fermin Lopez, but there is currently not club-to-club contact. They're in touch with the players' camp as they look to explore attacking options in case of exits. Ben Jacobs also reported that Chelsea are assessing whether or not to make a move for Fermin Lopez, with a deal possible at £43.2 million. Talks taking place on the player side, as David Ornstein has reported. Gerard Romeo has reported that Chelsea's interest in Fermin Lopez is real. There are other Premier League clubs interested, and Bayern are also interested. Fabrizio Romano reported that Chelsea spoke to Fermin Lopez's agent today, a direct contact to discuss his situation. They wanted to be informed on the contract, the salary, how he's going at Barcelona for the player. No bid on the table. Gerard Romeo also reported, if you think the Fermin Lopez to Chelsea rumour is just smoke, you can take a walk, get some fresh air and ignore this news. It is disrespectful to journalists to keep saying it's a lie, it's smoke. The news has even been confirmed by The Athletic. He goes on to say the information is that Chelsea sent a proposal to Fermin Lopez and he has to make a decision. Tomorrow he will meet Hansi Flick face to face and discuss what he wants to do. There are no club to club talks yet, but Chelsea made him an offer and there will be more if he decides to leave. Fabrizio Romano also reported, we have to remember also that only 5 days ago Fermin said to Barca fans that he wants to stay and to be calm. This wasn't 5 years ago, only 5 days ago. Flick also wants him to stay, no club to club contact as of today. However, Adria Alves has reported this morning that Fermin Lopez is thinking very seriously about Chelsea's proposal. This is very interesting to me. Now, I've looked at this from a few different angles to kind of understand why Chelsea have randomly gone in for Fermin Lopez. One, incredible player, 22 years old, could play as a 10, could play on the left-hand side, fits in Bluco's project, right? Young, very high prospect, playing for Barcelona. Over 60 appearances, he plays very well, scoring goals, getting assists. Is he breaking records in GA? Of course not, he's still very, very young. Is he a very talented technical player? Yes, he would be unbelievable in Enzo Maresca's squad. Now, the one thing that I think that Chelsea are doing here is they're setting up a backup deal just in case the Xavi Simons deal falls through. Now, obviously, we all want the Xavi Simons deal to go through, and basically we are waiting in that domino effect to offload Nkunku and Jackson to bring in Garnacho, Xavi. They are patiently waiting for the deal. Terms have been agreed, club to clubs basically agreed. They just can't officially put a formal bid in because of the UEFA slots, etc., blah, blah, blah. That's basically where it's at. That's where it's at. So I think that Chelsea have been looking at Fermin Lopez for a while. There's not really been many reports that suggest they have, but you know, they seem to do everything very tactically. They're putting an approach to say, hey, we'd love to understand the situation, the salary, the contract, what it would take, would the player be up for it? Here's our proposal, give it to the player, see what he thinks. Just on the basis that Xavi Simons deal falls through. The only thing I can't get my head around, though, is if it does fall through, will we still be able to bring him in and register him in the UEFA slot? Because I thought that's why we needed to offload Nkunku and Jackson. And the way it looks like it's going to be is Jackson goes and Garnacho comes in his place, Nkunku goes and Xavi Simons comes in his place. So, yes, Chelsea have made it very, very clear that Garnacho is a priority over Xavi Simons, purely because they're looking to offload Jackson as quick as possible and bring in Garnacho as quick as possible. But regardless of that, it's 5 days left of the window, so they both have to be done ASAP Rocky, let's be honest. So when it comes to Fermin Lopez, I would love to see him as an addition. Would I take him over Xavi Simons? No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would at all. Would he be a fantastic addition to Enzo Maresca's squad? Yes, absolutely. Technically gifted player, can definitely help with low blocks, can play on that left-hand side as well, which would be so fluid in attack. Barcelona play a very fluid attack in football, so to have a member of, or a cog from that machine into Enzo Maresca's system would be beautiful. Be very interested to know what Chelsea have offered Fermin Lopez in terms of salary, in terms of contract length and all that type of thing. And it'd be very interesting to know if Chelsea would pay the 43.2 million that's been reported by Ben Jacobs, of what that would take to get the deal done, or Barcelona would really rank the price up because it's so close to the end of the window. Hansi Flick wants to keep him, the club want to keep him. And again, like Fabrizio said about 5-6 days ago, Fermin Lopez said that he wants to stay, like, chill, it's all good. He wants to stay at Barca. So this is very left field. Come out of nowhere, genuine surprise of in terms of approach and talks, etc. But it kind of makes sense. Chelsea are spread betting right now. They're basically saying, right, how are we going to get a number 10 / left winger sorted if things, fall through? And they've already said that Nkunku can be reintegrated and he will be used as an option as a number 10 for Maresca. So that's that sorted. It's the left-hand side. And they're also, you know, using this Fermin Lopez, in my opinion, not as a smokescreen. I feel like there is genuine connections here because, like I've said many times, the board or the owners will come out, the briefs will come out very, very quickly if we are not interested in a player we've been linked with. They've been very transparent about that. So this is a genuine interest that we are trying to get over the line. He'd be a fantastic player. He really, really would. But like I said, I wouldn't have him over Xavi Simons. And I still feel confident that Xavi Simons' deal is going to take place. We basically know the Garnacho deal is going to take place at some place or another. It's just a matter of Nkunku and Jackson leaving. So I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below regarding Fermin Lopez. Would you take him? Would you take him over Xavi Simons? Would you rather him over Xavi Simons to come to Chelsea? Or would you be happy with Fermin Lopez transfer if the Xavi Simons deal falls through? Would you feel like that's an adequate replacement in terms of like for like in skill set? Or would you take him over Garnacho because he could play on that left-hand side and he's still a versatile player that can play as a 10 and on the left? And then you'd have Gittins and Fermin Lopez in rotation. Like I said, the only thing I'd go back to is the UEFA slots, which is why we're so adamant to offload Nkunku and Jackson. So I don't understand how we would get around it. We still wouldn't be able to register him. We'd have too many players, right? So very interested to know your thoughts regarding Fermin Lopez. Do you think 43 million is the right price for him? Would you try and pay a little less? Do you think he's worth more money? Let me know your thoughts. And that's the latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that, you're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.